Normal. Para X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural. Magic. Ghosts. UFOs. Bigfoot. Extraterrestrial. Psychic energy.
The Calling.
And good evening, everyone. This is The Calling. I'm Jerry, along with my co-host, Kimberly Juarez. That would suck, too, didn't it? That wasn't good. It's like it usually is.
It's really heavy breathing, Jerry.
It is. It's weird. I was saying it so good for a while there, and then all of a sudden I started getting raspy again. And it's like...
Gotta practice. Gotta practice.
Yeah, I'll have to, maybe lemon and beer. Something like that will work. So, so tonight we got a pretty good show, don't you think?
Yes, we do. We actually do.
Who do we have on?
We have the SquatchHERS, and we have Stephanie, Katie, and Carrie. Right? Did I say that right? Did I speak
Yep,
it?
you said it right. Stephanie, Carrie, and Katie.
And then who do we have in the rest of the half hour?
Well, see, in the beginning of the half an hour is when Loren Coleman's going to be on, the king of cryptozoology and author. I mean, he's got like 1 million books out there. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
This guy
big
is
museum,
great.
Big museum. Got to talk about his museum.
Oh,
So,
of course.
Yeah.
Yep. So, hello, Stephanie, Katie, and Carrie.
Hello.
There you go.
Well, and you guys forgot to mention that Kimmy is a squatcher too.
Oh,
Yeah.
duh, that's
Yeah.
right. I'm
We
sorry.
have we have half of the team on the show tonight.
Right?
Yeah.
This is good. Well, I'm going to start out with Carrie, your newbie. Carrie, can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
Awesome. What brought you to be looking for a spot with the SquatchHERS?
Well, I saw them on YouTube, and Stephanie really got that contagious personality. And I've always been into Bigfoot since I was a little girl, and I thought, geez, I would love to get a hold of these guys, and I thought they were quite a group, and I thought it would be awesome to get out in the woods, and as Stephanie says, there's no bad day out in the woods. And I contacted Stephanie, and we met, and now I'm a squatcher.
Excellent. And how's it going so far? I mean, what's your...
Oh, I love it.
Well, that's good. What's your
Stephanie
biggest...
is Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. What was that?
Well, no, Stephanie's just a great leader, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, I love getting out in the woods. That's my favorite part. Learning all the other stuff like this. It's my first time out here. But no, I just love it. I haven't had a bad time yet. I've learned a ton, and it's a blast. I can't say enough great things about it.
Excellent. What's your biggest fear of being out there?
I don't really have any fears being out there. I just love it. I was out there with Stephanie and Katie the other day, and I said, I've heard before that the third person, if you stay back a little bit, that's when they disappear. And so I said, I better catch up to these gals because I didn't want to be the third one back. So
That's good.
No, I really don't have any fear out there.
Well, that's good. That is definitely good. What do you think that is one of the best things that you've learned that you're out there so far? I know you haven't really done a lot, and I once this the shutdown is completely open and you girls get out there and stuff, what's your biggest thing that you want to contribute or to kind of do whenever all this stuff comes up?
Well, I want to go up north. Karn, isn't it Karn that lives up there, Stephanie?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I would love to go up north and, these gals have taught me a ton, just about a lot of native stuff, I guess, is what I've learned the most of. And we always leave a blessing. I love that part. But, yeah, just getting out in the woods more up north and other locations and get out, or just get more. We have 2 really great locations or spots that we go to now, and just getting out more often, I guess.
Excellent. Awesome. Kimberly, do you have a question?
Nope.
Nope.
Go
Okay.
right
Well,
ahead.
Katie, now you were on SIM since the beginning of time when SIM started in 2010, and SIM is actually Supernatural Investigators of Minnesota, which is a team that myself, Katie, Stephanie, and a few others had started. And you were a great investigator. You were a lot of fun. We used to go in places. You were the one that I like now, to investigate with, because for some reason you and I had a connection in many spots with the same spirits. They always talked with us and stuff like that. Now, when you are investigating, but now you're investigating Bigfoot, what is there a little fear going on there when you first started?
No, there's
Liar.
no fear with.
No.
Okay, I'll tell you, the only fear that I have is other people out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, if we're in an area where there's a campground or something, that's what scares me more than anything, other people bothering us. I'm not scared of the woods besides that.
Have you had that happen out there?
I guess not really. I mean, we've been to places that I know people were around, but they've never bothered us.
Mm-hmm.
So
Gotcha.
I just know how humans can be.
Oh, yeah.
And us being in the woods and, why they're out in the woods too, we don't know. That kind of thing. That's the only thing I get nervous about. But we're always in a group, and I think we're pretty tough. So.
Right. Well, you are. I mean, that's, it's a big thing, being out in the woods, when I was a kid and everything, you never thought about stuff. But now you're out there. There's a lot of things to think about. Bear, even now, this summer is going to be crazy because of the amount of timber rattlers that are around. And that worries me, because I know that there's one certain person on your team that doesn't really pay attention to anything. So you got to be very careful about it. But I mean, it's definitely a big thing. And plus too, you've also felt paranormal type things out in the woods, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Not as strong as Steph and some other ones, but when it is a connection, I feel it too. And I know that it's different in some places. The feelings, it's kind of amazing that sometimes there's a very negative feeling out there, and sometimes there's a very peaceful feeling. And I'm not really sure why that is, but it's kind of a neat thing to experience, especially the peaceful stuff.
Right, I suppose. Karen's saying we had weirdos around, though. It's well documented that people are often up to no good. And that is definitely true. That's definitely true.
Usually, though, when we're out in the woods, we pick areas that have very little human people around.
Right.
What we have noticed more so when we're at big events and we have booths and stuff, there are strange people that kind of linger. We kind of have to. They're scary. They're just scary. Let's just put it that way. They're scary.
Right. Well, I'm sure there definitely is in that. And that's, I mean, there's a lot of people worry that you're women going out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what would you say to them?
Carrie, why don't you answer that?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, there must be something.
No, no, not at all. I just, you know what? Here's the thing. I don't think, like, I agree with Katie. The biggest fear for me in the woods are other people, and we do run across people occasionally. But and Carrie's really good at talking to people too. If you just, we don't usually tell them what we're up to. We just say we're out for a hike. You know what I mean? But it's best to talk to them first to see what they're up to, I guess. You know what I mean? And then you just kind of part ways, and then we go on our merry way. But you do never know when somebody's out there and up to no good, right? And we are just a bunch of girls, right? And we don't bring guns, we don't bring dogs, we don't bring weapons. So, you know, that's our biggest fear.
Right. Well, when it comes to like some of the people that you've met and everything, I know that there's quite a few teams that are out there up in northern Minnesota and stuff. And I think a lot of them are intimidated that because you guys are women and you girls are actually researchers, where some of them go out there and they it's not that they manufacture stuff, but they're not out there to really be researchers. You know what I mean? And I know that you girls do go out there. That's your number one thing, is to research, to find what there's possibilities of, and then take it from there.
I just want to say something. I just feel that it is a very man-dominant field. Because, I mean, when we went to Kentucky, you girls know that it was just all men, and it just seemed, you know, the hyphen. I mean, I don't know, they show you pictures and they show you all this stuff, and it's like some of this stuff is kind of hard to believe. I'm not saying everyone is making up a lot of this stuff, but it's so man dominant. So they want to show you what they got, and they want to, and I think the girls are just trying to get out there and really trying to see if we can get some type of communication, some type of picture, some type of, we're out there to make things, you know, oh, look what we got, and look what we did, and look what we, you know what I mean? I don't think none of us are like that, to be honest, you know? So I'm not saying it's like a show-off game or anything, but sometimes it seems that's the way it is in this type of field, and for certain people. I mean, whether you go down south, you know, going out west, east, there's just a lot. It's very man-dominated, and there's hardly women. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like maybe we should get all these women together and say, hey, you know, see how many they're really out there looking for something.
Because there's a lot of individual ones, right? There's a lot of women that are out there, but there's no teams except for ours. And we have to work twice as hard and twice as long and go out twice as much as any of the men.
At least two teams, right?
Yeah.
Two teams that are really looking for stuff, not putting on the makeup, not making us have it all show and, you know, Betty Boppy, and, you know, we're really not like that. I mean, Steph goes bogging in the mud all the time.
I mean, we're filthy, we're sweaty, we stink. And still we do our live, you know, Facebook chat things, and, you know, this is how we are. We get down to the nitty-gritty. Yeah.
Right. Total girl power.
That's right.
That's a paranormal writer.
That's one of the reasons I really love it too, though, because it's not a, you know, beauty contest out there. We're all ourselves, and I really like that.
So what do you mean? You're telling me that you guys don't wear makeup out there? What?
I don't think we're.
I'm kidding. I was joking about that. So now, who is responsible, Steph, of you guys thinking of getting this team together? Stephanie, are you there?
She's frozen or something.
Oh, she is frozen up. Oh, I'll be darned. So, let's see now. So, Kimberly, tell me, who's the person that was responsible for, you know, you guys getting the team together?
Well, it was Steph who started it. So, so we'll just put it that way.
Okay.
Steph that started it, and, you know, it's really just all, I mean, she lets everyone know, everybody comes to agreements and stuff like that. So, you know,
here she is. She's back.
It
Steph.
Go ahead,
booted
Em.
me out. It booted me out. Sorry,
Did
I don't
it?
know.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
Okay, so Steph, here's the question. The
Okay.
question is, I just asked Kimberly, who was it that got you really going to look for Bigfoot?
Well, I would, Loren Coleman, probably. We've always been interested in Bigfoot, and as the sim crew, we went out a couple of times, but you and I were really the only ones. Jerry and Katie liked it too, but the rest of the team was like, well, we don't want to do that. We want to look for ghosts, And so when Lauren said to us at Paracon one year, girls, there's not a lot of women in the field. There are a lot of women, but no teams. It'd be a great time for you guys to create a team. So, of course, then, Kim, you take the story from there.
Well, then that's when she had found out, with Loren Coleman, how it'd be better for a woman to find Bigfoot because we're women, plain and simple. And so Stephanie comes running across and saying, do you want to be on the team? Do you want to be on the team? So, yeah, that's how
Yep.
it started.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I remember Lauren was on my show and talked about that,
Mhm.
that women would be make the first contact with Bigfoot.
Yep.
And I think that's what was one of the things too that you started with, and that's great. That's awesome. It's funny is that there's certain teams that I support. Of course, I support my team, Sim, and then we are getting back into Bigfoot also too, and more into UFOs and stuff. And of course, like Kimberly's team, we support them. But SquatchHERS, you guys are different. We support you guys 100%, especially that two of you were Sim members to begin with. So we always will be there in case you ever need one of us. And of course, we've got some cases coming up that I know that you guys, Katie and Steph had started back in the day when, with us. And we're going to be doing them again. And as soon as this Minnesota gets back open again, which take its time, because I don't want to see any more people dying and stuff. I just found out tonight that a friend of mine just lost his daughter to the virus. So yeah, it was a pretty bad thing. She was only 13. So yeah, she was very young.
Oh, my.
So yeah, so anybody out there doesn't think it's real, it is real. She had no health problems or anything. But anyway,
Yeah.
so now if there was a place or that you guys could go to look for Bigfoot, where is that place at? If it's not in Minnesota, where would you want to go to? Any of you four?
Bluff
Well,
Creek.
Where?
Bluff Creek.
Bluff Creek out
I'm
in
just kidding.
California.
I would just like to go anywhere really, really wooded. Stephanie, we were just talking about that the other day.
I think we all have different different answers for that question,
Yeah.
right?
See, I would like to go to the Pacific Northwest at some point and do that, and we will. We'll get there. We'll get there. That's something
Katie,
that
what
we
about
have to.
you?
Yeah.
I know Katie too.
I,
It's something different.
I guess I don't. Ireland.
For
Oh,
Bigfoot?
We just want to go to Ireland.
It's everywhere.
well, since you said, now I'm going to put a plug in for this. Since you said Ireland, we have been asked from May Hernan to, with secret Ireland ghost tours, to actually go over there and to do a ghost hunt on their tours, the calling, and with Sim also too. So we're, hopefully, like this next year is not going to happen. It's going to have to be in 2022. But I think that would be pretty great, especially getting the old timers of Sim back. So Katie, you said it. Let's go over there. Let's look for the fairies and the Bigfoot and all that other stuff and the banshees and we find a banshee, forget about it. I don't want to do that.
I know.
Well, now, what's your guys' take on Bigfoot and Yeti?
Well, they're one and the same, Jerry. Yetis is just a different name for Bigfoot. Only they're in the more northern hemisphere, right? And they're a different color. But Yetis are the same as Bigfoot.
So they're different color. Are they like a cream color, white? Are they like a bumble?
Well, a bumble is what I call him, because that's what the bumble is. He's a Yeti for sure.
Gotcha.
Don't you girls agree?
Yeah, I think they're cousins.
They're cousins?
Yeah.
They're cousins.
Yeah.
Well, it could be. And they're, distancing heroes.
Yeah.
Okay. So now what if, because I've seen Bigfoot. You guys were near there when I seen Bigfoot. We talked about it. It was an incredible thing to see. I really didn't think it was real at first. I thought it was a moose trying to get up off the ground. But then once it got up and then everything's going through my head, it's like trying to get the camera open with one hand to see it. Have you guys found anything close yet that you feel that Bigfoot was near you, that you could say that, was Bigfoot, or that he really does exist?
Well, I think one of the very first searches we ever did way up north in the Chippewa Forest, it came clear to me that it was Bigfoot, but we have no proof. But, we were out in the middle of a remote forest. It was the middle of the night. There was no moon, so it was pitch dark. We could all sense this feeling, and Kimmy and I are both pretty good about, we're very intuitive and can sense other presences. But we had, rocks lobbed up over trees that landed at our feet, not intentionally trying to hurt us, but just like, here I am, come find me. And then we would knock, we'd do a couple knocks and they would knock back. And then suddenly we felt totally surrounded. And we heard all this crunching in the woods around us. And, there was no other people out there. It was just us. And it wasn't animals because we had infrared cameras. We had that camera that you had, Kimmy. What am I trying to say? Thermal cameras.
Thermal cam.
And nothing was.
Nothing.
They would have. Yeah, they would have most certainly showed up. And to pitch a rock, you have to have a thumb, right? So.
Right.
Pretty much. It would be hard to do it without, but you could, still. But yeah.
But the thing that what it is that it just went pitch quiet, and that to me means something's around, and it just was pitch quiet. And then when it was all over, everything started up again. So it's like crickets, you could hear the crickets or whatever. Loons were out or whatever, it just seems so weird.
Yeah.
So weird. So, there was something. We just can't prove it, you know? So,
Right. So now each one of you separately, including Kim, we'll go Kim, Carrie, Steffi, and Katie last. Do you believe that Bigfoot is interdimensional? Kimmy?
I think there is, because not only they're living, but dimensional in a sense of like spirits, Jerry. So like any of them who have passed, and in some sense, they probably can come back and forth just like humans in a human spirit type of thing. So, that's my theory. Go ahead, Katie.
Sounds good. Carrie, how about you?
Yes, I think they're interdimensional, but I think it's more like a portal. I think they have. I think they're way, way over us knowledge-wise, and I just think they go through portals. And yes, interdimensional. I believe that.
All right, Steffi.
Yeah, I definitely believe they're interdimensional. But unlike ghosts, I also feel like when they are here and in a physical form, they can be hurt. They can give birth. We've heard stories about whole families, mom, dad, kids. So it's very interesting. Who knows? So they're like physical beings that are able to be interdimensional. And portals, we've found so many portals in the woods that something's there. And they're always under stick structures.
Well, not only that, Steph, we saw print and then it ends.
Yes.
So how does that?
Yes.
That doesn't. There's no print after that. Like it'll have a long trail of some type of print that we've seen, and all of a sudden it just ends. So explain that one.
Exactly. Loren Lauren's going to say that is for Loren. He says that's just from
Physical creatures.
geographical.
It could be. Katie, what do you think?
Yes, I also think that they're interdimensional, and I believe a lot more with how Steph was talking about how when they're here, they're more of a physical thing, but they have a way of transporting through portals and stuff. And then when they're talking about those footprints, because when we found those in the winter, I mean, we were just amazed. It had this path, and it went and it just ended. Okay, now then where did it go? We don't know, but we just feel like somehow it was able to go to the next level or go to the next place it wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't say that for sure, but it just seems that where would the prints go? Especially with
and we looked.
Snow.
Remember, girls? We looked. I walked a long way after that trying to find a place where it would pick up again, and they never did. They never did.
Well, that's very interesting. There was actually a UFO sighting back in the early 70s, and that's one of the things that they talked about is when they were investigating it, they found tracks that led away, and it was like about 1,000 feet, and they followed the tracks, and all of a sudden they just ended.
Yeah.
And you're talking fresh snow here, and that's not just one case, but that's also in the second one in 1985 near Cass Lake, which is pretty incredible. So, yeah.
Well, and this was in that general area. I mean, it was near Bena. It was up in the woods up there, and I bet that trail was longer than 1,000 feet. It was a pretty good size chunk of, and each footprint was 4 to 6 feet apart from the others. 22 inches long.
So a long stride.
Hugely long stride, and they were all in a single file line, exactly a line. Like humans can't walk that way. Right. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I can't wait to get back out there again. That's of course, I'll have to call on you girls to come with or something like that, because I'm sure the team won't, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, so let's see now. Kimberly, you got a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you girls, this last time that you guys got that picture of that crisscross kind of thing, right in the middle, what was that? Right in the middle of it? Like, how did you even come about that? Like, to me, that was pretty...
Isn't that wild?
It was literally like if somebody did it. Like, you know what I mean? And so explain that one.
Well, we run across those stars, that we call them stars. Other people call them asterisks or whatever. And we do run across those quite often. That was a really good example of one, though. And that was just how it was put together. And, some of them are put together. I bet that could withstand a hurricane. It was so well built.
Right.
I mean, and how do you build that? I don't think humans would understand how to build that. I couldn't build one like
and
that.
it's not the way the trees fall or anything like that, because that was way perfect.
It was built.
Like,
it was built. Yeah, it was very intricate and laced and woven.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was cool. It was
Well,
cool.
I'll tell you what, ladies, we're going to go on break. Half an hour has gone by very, very quick. And then when we come back, we are going to talk with Loren Coleman with the SquatchHERS. So everybody hold tight. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes.
Demons, vampires, werewolves, skinwalkers. All of this and more. Sunday nights at midnight on the Staring Into the Abyss radio show. Come, get lost with us.
You are listening to Para X.
You've no doubt heard of Tango and Cash, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Perhaps it takes two to tango. Well, now, on the first and third Thursdays of each month, there's a show called Tango and Friends at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Para X Radio Network with your host, Bruce Tango. And yes, there will be at least two to tango on each episode, sometimes even more. There's going to be lots of topics and lots of guests you'll all know and lots of surprises. Tango and Friends every first and third Thursday of the month at 8 p.m. right here on the Para X Radio Network.
Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, Tommy, what's shaking?
Oh, just getting ready for this week's show. It's going to be another far-out adventure on He Said, She Said, the Cryptid Show. What happens when you get two cryptid researchers together, one from Minnesota and one from Cryptovania?
I know. It's so much fun. And it's every week, and we get to have fun and talk to different people. And
We don't always agree on everything.
we might even disagree about a thing or two. Oh, my.
One never knows. It's been known to happen before.
And that is the beauty of He Said, She Said, the Cryptid Show on Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Para X Radio Network.
That was money in the bank.
And we are back. This is Jerry with the calling, along with my co-host Kimberly Juarez. And now we had the SquatchHERS the first half, and now the guy that I just love the most. I try to read every book I possibly can on you, Loren, and follow you on Twitter, Facebook. I don't think you have an Instagram account, do you? So then that's good, because if I did follow you on Instagram, then that'd be stalking, correct?
No, I actually do, but I don't use it much. It's just too much.
Oh, yeah, that's just a bit too much. So how's everything going, I mean, with the museum? The museum is still shut down, correct? They haven't opened up anything yet?
Right. It's as people in the museum business keep saying, it's closed but open, because we still have people in there and we're doing mail order. And actually, the state of Maine is slowly opening, so you'll be seeing in the next 2 weeks, we'll do we're going to be opening the doors and airing it out and letting certain people in. And then I think in June, it's going to be people, 10 people at a time or something like that. But it's like every place else, slowly opening. But there's, it's just, we've been sort of missed by most of the diseases, and I mean the virus and the deaths, but it's still impacting people, and it's quite hurtful. So we want to be very conscious. And we certainly want all of the patrons to be safe and the staff. So we're going slow, and we're using all the precautions.
Gotcha. That's good. That's good. Stay safe. That's the main number one thing. I know with Minnesota, they're going to be partially opening up a little bit come June 1st, which is going to be good.
Right.
And I'm sure the
SquatchHERS
might
be rocked. It might all be rocked a bit because Wisconsin Supreme Court declared it illegal. So
that's right. I forgot about that. That's right. That was new
news. Today.
Yeah.
Or whatever day this is.
it's Wednesday.
Today is today.
But the one question I'm really tired of asking, and seeing it in the memes, is Bigfoot, the champion of social distancing. So I'll be glad when that's
I have a cup like that. I have a coffee cup. What about tours?
Yeah.
This is Tim. What about tours, Loren? Are you going to be doing anything? You're stopping all that as well, aren't you? Or
tours, as in the museum, or are you talking about other places?
Like when you go do speaking tours and stuff like that.
Oh! As far as I've had 6 or 7 engagements lined up for the year, and every one has been canceled. Nobody's flying on planes. Nobody's going to conferences. I understand that some of the virtual conferences that have been happening are major disasters.
Yeah.
So it seems like the whole year of 2020 is not going to happen. So we were supposed to have a symposium this year and a traveling exhibit from the West Coast, and we can't even get it transported out because the people that do the transporting can't come through some states because it's illegal. So we're putting all of that off, and there'll be time, but mostly it's without the tourists coming to the museum, we're just really on the edge waiting for when we can get going so we can really survive. But it's like everybody else, so I'm not not complaining too much. We did get the PPP money, so
that's good.
Just through June, but
that's good.
But,
so
I do have to write a blog about how Bigfoot really likes to be in crowds and not really alone. So I gotta deal with that.
I suppose. So, question for you, Loren: do you, when it comes to, I know I remember one time my old co-host Alan had asked you, what do you feel is like Bigfoot and UFOs? And your answer was, next question, please. But I've got to ask you, do you think there's a possibility of something like it? Because a lot of people do believe that Bigfoot and UFOs are like, same thing, only just a wee bit different.
I'm getting a lot of interference on the phone here. I don't know if I can answer any of your questions. We'll have to call each other later.
Okay, that sounds good.
Let me
Move on.
say a couple things here. Okay, one, you've framed your question by using the word belief and believe. I've always said to all reporters, so I might as well say it on a radio show too, belief is the providence of religion. It's a faith-based system that if you bring that into cryptozoology, into Bigfoot studies, you've contaminated the scientific thought. So to say I believe or don't believe something really isn't within my framework of conceptualizing Bigfoot. Bigfoot is about looking for evidence, whether it's physical evidence or psychological or dream state or hallucination or whatever. I look in a psychosocial way, in a scientific way, a zoological way, a biological way. And, if you throw in UFOs, that's just not part of. Some of my best friends are ufologists, but they know that Bigfoot and UFOs is really a stretch. It's kind of like if I appear on Ancient Aliens to talk about the Menehune of Hawaii, the real legends and real sightings of little people. It confuses some individuals that because I'm on Ancient Aliens, I must, quote unquote, believe in UFOs. Well, that's not true. It's part of our culture, just like, squirrels coming to my feeder are part of our culture. But it doesn't mean that I think that squirrels and Bigfoot are involved in some kind of, relationship. In other words, you can just kind of go off into tangents any way you want and ask me any kinds of questions, but it doesn't mean they're related just because they end up in the same sentence in a question.
Right, but it's one thing so many people have asked me too, and I really don't believe that they do have anything together. Though a lot of people are saying, well, where there's UFO sightings, there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings too, and it's like that's coincidence, or
well,
I don't even know what to say about that.
John Keel said it very distinctly that it's the reflective factor. If you go into a community and you start asking people about Bigfoot, that opens up the floodgates for people wanting to talk to you about everything that's unexplained. And then you have some new researchers, newbies that come along and they write it all down and they said, well, so-and-so said that there was a UFO in this area in 1965, and then 2 years later, there was Bigfoot reports. And so then some other researcher writing about that says, in this city, in this town, there's been UFO reports and Bigfoot reports, and we think they must be related. But it's if you look through the record, and actually in my book Bigfoot, I did a whole little section showing that the number of actual Bigfoot cases where there's any kind of UFO involved is like 5%, and it really, there's nothing substantial there.
Interesting. That's good. I like that. So, Kimberly, did you have a question, or one of the girls, did you have a question for Loren?
No, but I do want to say thank you for supporting us, Loren. And, it's your idea that got this team together all those years ago. And, wow, we're just going strong. And, we all just love it. So thank you.
Yeah, well, I've always thought, as you well know, that women should be at the forefront of Sasquatch and Bigfoot research. And I'm really happy to see you guys have been really active and being supported all around.
Yeah, that you guys didn't fade out. You guys stuck in, which is good. Go ahead, Steph.
I was just going to say, and we keep getting more people that want to join the club, right? And so, like Carrie is our newbie, and she loves it. And, we're in the woods all the time. So, yeah, sooner or later, Loren, we'll find him. We'll find the big guy or the big girl.
I was a little disappointed to hear that after 8 years, Shooting Stars had decided not to have a Bigfoot conference.
Right?
And then the coronavirus came along, and it was like they were thinking about, instead of having a paranormal conference, to make it pure Bigfoot, and now nothing's happening. So that's because I'd always see you guys there, and that was and had always nice candy for me.
We always had so much fun. I know.
They even changed it again, as a matter of fact. Instead of being crypto or Bigfoot or anything like that, they changed it to MMA.
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah. Then I thought that was very, very strange. Yeah. So nobody knows exactly what they're going to be doing. But, okay, just got to get this question out because we don't have you for very long. When it comes to evidence, would you say that people that because you have people sending you evidence that they think is Bigfoot, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Hair samples and stuff. Has it increased or has it decreased within the past couple years?
Well, I think that a lot of people are really relying too much on digital and YouTube evidence the decrease seems to be in footcasts. People are not really getting good footcasts. Definitely the good evidence as far as filming or videos has gone downhill with the increase in YouTube because so many hoaxes. It's just absolutely flooded with a lot of garbage, trash in and trash out. And that's really unfortunate. So I'm not seeing hair samples, casts coming through a lot. I'm seeing a lot of people send me pictures. A lot of it is blog squatches, which are just shadows in the trees and stuff like that. So that's unfortunate.
There are a lot of that out there. I agree, because we get a lot of people that send us that stuff, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Really?
Right.
Even in the paranormal field too, we get. I got this one girl that is constantly calling. She's only 24. She wants to be on the team. She lives too far away, and she's like, "Oh my God, you got to see this YouTube. I seen this, and it is 100% real." And I'm like, "No, it's not." It's like just exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a couple of years ago, we had a really big visual and then photographic evidence in Maine, and it turned out to be a porcupine in a tree. So, it was real. It was real. It just happened to be a porcupine.
Well, there you go. Well, they got a third of it right,
Yeah.
Exactly. So now when it comes to books, didn't you just have a book come out?
Well, the Mothman book came out about a year and a half ago. That was
Right.
Mothman Evil Incarnate.
Yep, I got that
then,
one. Great book.
Then the Neanderthal book, which was Heuvelmann's book about the Minnesota Iceman. That's another recent book. You probably heard about that since you guys are in Minnesota. And then the Merbeing book is coming out at the end of this year. And then I did a introduction to the Big Muddy Monster from Southern Illinois. That was recently too out. So there's lots of those little things.
I'm really looking forward to the Mer people one. I'm excited about that one, Loren. I think I told you that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good book.
Yeah.
It's just everything slowed down with what the pandemic, because we had it all going, and then the editor and the publisher and everything grinded to a halt. So we've got to, and then also the money for it grinded to a halt. So we've got to make sure that we can survive now versus publishing books. But we'll get it done.
There you go. Carrie, did you have a question that you would like to ask Loren? Carrie, there you are.
I'm here.
She was abducted.
Oh, I'm writing down these books that you wrote when I get these, especially that Minnesota Iceman. I'm really interested in that one. So I just wondered if you could give me if you have any thoughts on Dogman.
On Dogman?
Yeah.
Well, I really like Linda Godfrey, but I told her very early on that I thought a lot of the Dogman reports were Bigfoot that were actually leaning over eating roadkill, and that people were misidentifying Bigfoot and calling them Dogmen. And so I still have my doubts. There's really much evidence for Dogman.
Right.
And so I'm trying to be open-minded but skeptical about Dogman. But some of my best friends believe, are certainly after Dogmen. So, Kim Gerhardt and.
Yeah. Now, Loren, is the Wendigo and the Dogman the same? If that's the case, I mean, are they? What's the difference between the two? Because I know I've heard the Wendigo in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
or
all across the northern tier of states, all the way over to Maine and Nova Scotia, you have Wendigo. It's an Algonquin Indian name for the eastern Bigfoot.
Okay.
And so I see no real difference between using the word Bigfoot and Wendigo. It just so happens that within psychology, they have now taken over the term Wendigo to represent a psychotic episodes where people become cannibals and kill people and stuff like that. There was an episode about 5 years ago on a bus in out in Western Canada, where a person beheaded another person, and there was a lot of talk about that person had gone through a Wendigo psychosis, and so that got a lot of people confused that knew Wendigo and Sasquatch were essentially the same thing.
Interesting.
It has nothing to do with the human part of it.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I've always. You've got some state parks named Wendigo in Minnesota and Wisconsin, so Michigan.
Right.
I'll be darned. See, I always thought that kind of with the Wendigo, that in 1925, wasn't it, a guy named Jack? Something, I don't remember the name, but I was looking it up, that actually had killed his family members and ate most of them, and then took off on the run and claimed that the Wendigo was within him So,
Yes.
that very surprised me that they're calling Bigfoot a Wendigo.
Yeah, well, that's where it gets all merged and confusing because it's been a psychotic diagnosis for a long time to say somebody goes Wendigo. But you have to backtrack it. They're naming that psychosis after the actual Sasquatch Eastern Bigfoot, the Wendigo.
Excellent.
And,
wow.
in a lot of the comic, popular cultural graphic novels, you now have a Wendigo with antlers and deer skins and all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
But if you look at the even older records of the Wendigo, it's just a pure Bigfoot.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That's
that is.
really
I didn't know that. That is interesting.
Yeah, because I see it all the time. That's why I wanted to see about your input about the Wendigo. So, yeah, thank you, Loren. Thank you for answering that.
Sure.
Yeah, that was
it's
very
great.
interesting. Wow. So, okay, I suppose you got to go. Do you got to go, or can you still stay on for a few more minutes?
A little bit. It's already
Okay.
an hour past bedtime, but
Lauren. Oh, that's right. It's an hour difference. So
Yeah, it is an
Hour
hour
later
difference.
out there. Yeah.
no, we just had a snowstorm 2 days ago, so we're still digging out.
Oh my
Really?
gosh.
Oh, my gosh.
Right. I forgot about that. You guys got a lot of snow. How much did you guys get?
Well, along the coast, it was pretty light, maybe 1 inch, and then it would melt. But you would go, a few miles up into the state, and there were some places that had 6 inches of snow.
Oh, wow.
But it's probably all gone now, and we've had some incredible winds following the snow, like 30, 40 miles an hour, so it dried everything out. So we're hoping that we'll see spring this week, but, people have hoped that for a long time in Maine.
Very good. So now, so you have the book coming out. Is there anything else coming out, recently? I know that Katie Elizabeth was saying that she loved that you wrote the foreword on her book, if I'm correct, or something.
Yeah, the introduction or foreword. I think even though it's sort of the invisible part of me, because the museum is in its 16th year, I've been putting an incredible amount of effort since we had to close down in March to really be behind the scenes, write grants, talk to people, sell online books, and just do every possible thing. We have a staff of about 7 people, so getting them organized and sanitizing the museum over and over and over and talking to people, it's sort of like, my wife actually says that I work 24 hours, and I really do. If you've ever noticed my tweets, they sometimes start at 2 a.m. and go until 10 or so at night. I mean, I can't compete with the president, but I certainly try to keep people informed cryptozoologically and not stir up anything, because we never talk about politics or religion.
No. Oh, I'm holding up the cross sign with my fingers right now. Just
right.
Yeah,
but, it's very disappointing because I'm always thinking ahead and I'm always planning, and we were really excited about the exhibits, and we had a whole new bank of new display cases put in, and I've done dioramas, and we had that as sort of holding the space until we got in Chris Murphy's complete, it's called Sasquatch Revealed exhibit that's been all over the West, and we will be the first Eastern exhibit of this traveling show. So we had it all planned for the beginning of the year, and now it's been put off till spring, and now it looks like it's put off until late fall. But we're excited by that. And as, for instance, a 250-pound skeleton of the Sasquatch that will go in the museum and be displayed along with everything else. So it's a nice exhibit, and we're negotiating because they're actually looking for a final home for that exhibit. So we're going to see if we can talk them into a long-term loan and see how long it goes. But because we actually wake up once in a while and scratch ourselves or pinch ourselves that we've been around now for 16 years. And one of the most disappointing things of the coronavirus shutdown was just that week that we had to shut down and all the news came out. We were listed as one of the 15 weirdest museums in the world, and we were going to, help use that to help us promote it ourselves. But no doing that. We'll just kind of calmly work away at holding it all together.
Well, that's good. That's good because it's important. Your museum is very important to, the United States with people to take a look at. Especially when there's to be informed, I guess, on certain things. It's a great place, and I decided, just tonight, that as soon as Minnesota, it's all lifted and stuff like that, I definitely got to make a trip out there and finally meet you. Well, not finally. I met you many times. Matter of fact, I almost got a ticket for you one time, if you remember that.
You're right. Yeah.
And
you were speeding along to get the map to me.
I couldn't find a map in that town, and it was so weird. It said we're on the border, roughly, of North Dakota, and yet I can find a Wisconsin map.
But no Minnesota map.
But no Minnesota map. That's just amazing. So
it was too late in the year, October. The tourist season was already over.
Exactly. So, Loren, if someone's looking to check out your museum and stuff like that online, where would they go? What is your web address so that they can go online and do that?
Cryptozoologymuseum.com. A real simple address. Cryptozoologymuseum.com.
Excellent. And because we're coming down to the last couple minutes here, and the SquatchHERS have a gift that I make for them, and they want to send you one. So if you could either send myself or Stephanie, if you could send us a message on Facebook message, your address on where we could send it to, we'd really appreciate it.
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'd be honored.
Well, wait till you get it first. Then you're going to be like, wow.
You'll love it. You'll absolutely love it.
Somebody's leftover lunch.
No.
Oh,
Only SquatchHERS team members can have this. So you're one of the very few people outside the team that get to have one. But they are awesome. You're going to think it's the most amazing.
Yeah.
Excellent. You're welcome. And then, Steph, how does your team, if somebody needs to get a hold of you, where do they look up for SquatchHERS?
Well, we are on Facebook at SquatchHERS, and we have our website is SquatchHERS.com, double H, so SquatchHERS.
MOUSE.
That's right.
Just kidding. Sorry. I just had to throw that in there.
Is that capital HERS?
Yes, capital HERS, yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Well,
because
Steph,
I want to make sure everybody knows we're women, Loren.
Yes, I know you're women.
Well, if anybody's ever seen them, they're all hot. So that's
good. But they're definitely not girls.
That's right. Okay, so hey, thank you very much,
Thank you for
everybody.
having me on, by the way.
Thank you, Loren. I really appreciate you coming on.
What
What
an honor, Loren. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You got it. And thank
Everybody
everybody.
be safe.
You too.
You got it. You too. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, SquatchHERS. Thank you, ParaX. And thank you very much, Sarge. We appreciate everything that you've done for our show. And y'all have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, Loren. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Loren.
Thank you. Bye-bye.